Okay, I think it worked this time. Someone tell me if you can hear me. I think we're loud and clear. Welcome back to the Mike Rosehart Show every Wednesday live at 7 p.m. where we talk about anything, personal finance. You guys bring your questions. But today I wanted to talk about World of Warcraft and specifically a game that sort of changed my life 12 years ago for probably the worse, but then ultimately for the better. Because it did consume me for a lot of my teenage years. And this game, World of Warcraft, you've probably heard of it. I've been talking in general about how gaming, well, one, if you have any questions about real estate or personal finance, throw them in the bottom. We do that live Q&A every single week for the last almost year and a half now. But today's topic, just like for the first 5 minutes, is what's up in my life, what's been going on. I've been playing a new game, or I guess it's an old game brought back to life. So World of Warcraft, the classic version, I'm having a lot of fun with it. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of share that and share how gaming can be the unicorn that you never expected to. Hey, Vital, good to see you on. I think it dropped off. Hopefully people can hear me loud and clear. I don't know. It had an error that said it like turned off, but we'll see. So how is the development project going? Andrew, the development project is like non-moving. It's like developments take a long time, right? So the small subdivision we have going, the 4 development lots, 4 lots or more is a subdivision. So that project is taking a long time. But one of the common themes in gaming I wanted to bring out there is, I know like a lot of parents are down on their kids for getting into gaming, are down on their kids for like, you know, you have teenage kids who are playing video games. I was that guy. Like I would spend like 12 to 15 hours on World of Warcraft. It's crazy. Back when I was a teenager, when I was like 12, 13, 14, 15. And I was still hustling doing other things too. But interestingly, one of the core things, I think, by the way, smash the like button if you're enjoying this content. One of the core things that, in my opinion, makes World of Warcraft or any game in general, it looks like my thing is just glitching out hardcore. Someone tell me if you're still connected. I see my timer stopping and starting. So I don't know if like we're connected or not. I don't know what's going on. Let me know if it is in fact disconnected right now. It's saying there's 0 people watching and that my timer is frozen. So I don't know if I'm actually live right now. Okay, just glitching out because it says 0 people are watching and I can see comments now. So okay, just ignore YouTube and the fact that the clock is frozen right now. Oh, it just jumped 20 seconds forward. I don't know, looks like you guys are all still in. So World of Warcraft, people hate on the game, love it, hate it, whatever it is. I spent a lot of hours of my life in that game. I've got probably 8,000 hours in that game. I'm back at it again for a few reasons. One, like I just enjoy the escape. 2, it's just a fun game to play. A lot of my friends have gone back to this game. And like 3, the average age of the community is very old. It's like older than me for the most part. But I want to talk about some core elements of that game and games like it in that genre. I think people who get good or learn to play those games well are very good at developing the skill of delayed gratification. In World of Warcraft, it may take you dozens and dozens of hours to reach the end of a quest or to hit a certain level or to grind a certain level of EXP to unlock some sort of banner or armor or gear. That skill set, the ability to delay gratification and grind when it feels painful but you do it anyway, that skill set is the #1 determining factor of you becoming a millionaire. It's not about what, how you grew up. It's not about what you do for a living. What matters is your ability to delay gratification, the most important thing that you do. I don't know where it is, Emma. I'm sorry. I don't know. My girl? Oh, my daughter's trying to get in. I didn't lock the office door. Mistake! Nope, daddy's streaming. You know mommy doesn't let you come on live streams. I'm sorry, my girl. I have a 3.5-year-old daughter who loves to spend all of her time around her dad. And unfortunately, I have to heal myself away for 45 minutes here. I can't wait actually until she's able to game. That'll be a fun time to be able to bring her on. Unfortunately, Emma, you could not come on camera. Mom doesn't allow that. So unfortunately, my daughter does love to spend all the time with me, but she cannot. So what was I talking about? Gaming and unicorns and how you can become a special individual. I think that people put down games and gaming and like, I sort of put World of Warcraft out there for a couple of reasons. One, I wanted people to know that like, yes, I have hobbies and I don't just like grind all the time and real estate isn't everything. 2, I want people who are watching who play World of Warcraft Classic to find me on Stalag and add my character and let's have some fun together. And 3, I think that if you're playing World of Warcraft, it's okay. You can justify it to yourself and to your friends and to etc. to your family by explaining that several, like I know someone who sells a ton of stuff on Amazon online. He sells a ton of products, and he learned how to do Amazon resale through World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft has an auctioneer system where you can buy items and resell them. It's kind of like eBay or Amazon, but effectively there's commodities in World of Warcraft, right? There are like several different professions where you can do like leatherworking or tailor or miner or skinner. There's so many different professions. That economy that exists inside of games like World of Warcraft is the exact same as the real world economy. It sort of mimics the actual real world economy. And if you can learn to master the economy in World of Warcraft, you can do it in real life too. And so some of the basic principles, like buying items, like I would buy an item that's not desirable. I would craft it into something that's desirable and then sell that item for more money. That is the essence of what I do in real estate, right? I buy undervalued assets. I add something to that asset to change its value, and then I refinance it and pull the capital out, or I sell it. I was playing World of Warcraft back, almost a decade ago, and it's a pay-to-play game, but I never paid to play it. And yes, for the Horde, I am a World of Warcraft Horde player as well. So if you're Alliance, jump over to Horde. Don't be a scrudge. Don't be a noob. Don't be a pawn. Anyway, so learned in that game a ton of basic economics, and friends of mine did too, who, they took that same skill set, learning how to, take raw items and turn them into something valuable, or buy something that's already on the market. Like I would go on the auction house and look for items that are undervalued and just flip them. Flipping is like easy as ever, right? So you can do it in that game. I learned how to do it in real life because I had practiced in this game, right? So the basic concepts of, buying low, selling high, value add, arbitrage. Star Wars Galaxies Online was the first game. It shuts down now. It was the first MMORPG, real world economy. It had a bizarre system similar to World of Warcraft. Before I played World of Warcraft, I played that game. That game taught me true economics. I'd have vendors set up and non-player characters and macros running. I learned for the first time leverage. When I was 11 or 12 years old, I had macros running and NPC characters that were selling my goods that I was manufacturing while I was offline. I go to the beach for a swim at 11 years old, and my characters would be pawning and selling the things that I had online. That game taught mechanics that are useful in the real world. And so maybe shooter games aren't really valuable. They're fun to play, but that might not teach you skills that are that useful and applicable in the real world. But a lot of the MMORPGs are just virtual reality playgrounds where you get virtual fake currency and you can learn how to build that into something massive. And as you develop skills and build those skills, they turn into something valuable. That is the same thing in the real world. So for those people who play games, I am seeing a recurring theme. A lot of my friends, and maybe it's just because all my friends that played World of Warcraft happen to also be my friends, and so they also are type A personalities. I don't know. But I have friends who are not type A's, who are like type B, different types, who are still very successful, and they play World of Warcraft. And so, interestingly, you can be successful being a World of Warcraft player. So I used to play it for free. I would trade in-game currency for the game cards. So I never even paid to play. It was a free game to play. But anyway, I just think that it's important to think to yourself, when you're young, when you don't have the ability to actually invest in it and you're 15 years old, how can you play the game? How can you learn the skills? Well, you can do it in the virtual world, and gaming is a great way to do that. Now, today, for me, it's not going to build any skills really that are going to help me be any more successful. But what I do know is that, without a doubt, it's a great release. And two, it could be a great networking place, because there are actually, in the World of Warcraft Classic game, the average age is very high, and there are a lot of World of Warcraft Classic players playing right now on the servers that are very wealthy. Guys like me, multi-millionaires, I know them, that are playing the game today. So it's interesting. It could even be a networking thing, being in this virtual world of World of Warcraft. So could be something to pick up. If you've been thinking about getting back at World of Warcraft, might not be a bad thing. And I think in general, the ability to delay gratification, the ability to hold out and grind for something is a useful skill. And so if you can train that skill, if you know that there are days where I used to log into World of Warcraft, I didn't even want to log on. I played anyway because I knew I had goals to meet. I had people that I was accountable to on my guild, right, to meet certain raids or certain PvP targets. Or I had 2v2 arena where my partner was relying on me to up my skill with theirs, right? And so there were pieces to the team dynamic, learning how to play with others. There was pieces to accountability. There were pieces to delayed gratification. Those skills in that game, if played right, will transcend into real estate, into business, and will teach you to be successful. So if you're a World of Warcraft player or thinking about getting back into it, it is going to consume a lot of your time, but it may not be the worst thing you ever did. So I don't know. I'm also like debating, would it be interesting if I started playing World of Warcraft and did like live streams while I'm playing? Like if I got that set up and I could just game for the hour that we were doing the live stream, that'd be cool. I could get behind that if you guys were behind that. Okay, so how's the development project going? Good, good. Hey Mike, what's your approach to rental property insurance, replacement cost or actual cash value? It doesn't really matter, in my opinion, on that part. The thing that's important in my mind is having, if you have good liability coverage, call it $2 million or more. I think a good umbrella policy across all your properties for $5 million might be a better way to go. But it's up to you, up to your current insurer and all these types of things, right? So it's important, I think, to say on the insurance perspective, am I covered if a worst case scenario happens? So for myself, my risk tolerance is pretty good. I have a good cash reserve for each property. So I put my deductible on the property about $5,000. So any withdraw of $5,000 or less, I eat out of pocket. So if I have a $6,000 flood in my basement, my deductible is $5,000. They know I'm not going to make a claim because I'd have to pay $5,000 deductible just to make the claim for the $6,000. I would just get $1,000. I would never do that. So my insurance rates go way down, and over the long term, I end up being effectively insuring myself, right? So I do believe in self-insurance. It's hard to self-insure yourself for multi-millions of dollars. So where there's like a roof leak or something minor happens, like a basement flood or a minor thing that's like $10,000 or $20,000 or less, I would never make a claim because my insurance rates would probably go up higher than the benefit that I would get, right? So I'm a big fan of saying like high deductible and high liability. So keep your costs low. Insurance is important. I mean, if you're just getting started and something happens, it could wipe you out. You like that, eh? You like to have it shaved like a bum? Movember, guys. Donate to a good cause. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you on. I can hear you loud and clear. I'm gonna plug this back in here. You are awesome. Thank you, appreciate that. Thanks for all that you do. Happy to help, truly. We are connected, still connected, awesome. When you were younger, did you always want to pursue real estate or you attempted a few things until you found something you were good at? So, and you said really good at, I don't know if I'm really good at anything. I'm decent at real estate. It's just, the thing with real estate is this. And so to answer your question, Patel, the short answer is no. I had no plans to go into real estate. My dad had a couple of rental properties and lost them in a divorce. And so I kind of watched, like I wasn't very close with my dad. I kind of see him a couple times a month. He kind of left when I was young, but in a different city, I watched him have a couple of rental properties and I saw him make no money in real estate. I saw it as like, he always just said, oh, you don't make any money, you barely even get mortgage pay down, and if you break even, it's all good. So I saw real estate as like a lot of work. I'd have to cut grasses and deal with tenants and paint and all this crap. I'm like, that sounds terrible. Like I watched my dad do that. I did that with him, once a month or something when I'd come visit him. That was terrible. So real estate, I thought back then was terrible. I had no desire to get into rental properties or do landlording. It's a terrible job. Then when I was about 18, I was stock trading and I uncovered levered trading and I was making trades on leverage. If you guys check out the Robinhood cheat code, there's a way to actually borrow unlimited. Quest Trade back in the day had a similar thing. So I took $6,000 and I levered up 8 to 1 and I bought $60,000 or like 50 something thousand dollars in stock. Back then they would hand you like almost unlimited credit. It was crazy. There was a bug, I guess, on Quest Trade's side as well. And so I was doing some day trading and I realized that like the margins I was getting on 1 or 2% on that levered trading when I was 18 or 19 was not significant. Like I couldn't borrow enough and I couldn't do enough to make real gains. Then I stumbled on, Mr. My Mustache, was reading all about his stuff, and at 19 realized that the idea of this, like, a landlord can make $30 an hour. That was what his article was. I think it was an article he wrote a while back about how landlords make $30 an hour on average, right? And he ran the numbers, and that was what he figured on average with the rental property. So it's like, it's not even passive income, it's like a job where you make $30 an hour. And I'm like, oh wow, that sounds amazing. Like 19-year-old Mike's like, damn, I'm making $14 an hour right now. Minimum wage is $9 at the time. I'm like, wow, it's more than triple minimum wage. That's a great job. Yeah, it takes some capital, whatever, but it's a good job. Can I get a mortgage? So I got my first property at 19. Everyone knows that. I convinced the bank to loan me 80% of the money, put it all together, got the deal done. I lived in the house, so I kept costs low because I lived there. I house hacked. I discovered that by renting out rooms, if I just did it to like friends or people I actually liked going to school with me, it wouldn't be such an inconvenience. Landlording wouldn't be that hard. Pride of homeownership would be kind of cool to take care of my own property. I could add some value, learn some construction stuff. I thought I'd just be able to live for free. Didn't plan on doing any rental properties. In fact, my financial plan at 20 years old had no rental properties in it. I was planning to save very aggressively and climb the corporate ladder out of Ivy. So I thought I was just gonna climb the corporate ladder, get a lot of promotions, save 75% of what I earned, and then just retire. If I invested in stocks, got a 10% rate of return, 7 to 10%, I'd be retired in my late 20s with no real estate. Like you can retire in like 7 to 8 years, 9 years with no real estate at all. You just work hard, save. But then I discovered real estate like I was almost 21. Like I graduated, I was 17 when I went to Western. So I graduated when I was 20. I was 20 years old still, hadn't turned 21 yet. I had a 4-year degree from Ivy. I was graduated, I was working full-time in consulting at 20 years old. And I was 21 years old. Yeah, I was 21 years old when I graduated. I was working full-time. And I kind of came across another article that just sort of floated across. I was doing some reading in the personal finance space. Might have been Reddit or in Mr. My Mustache's like forums or like comments. And I saw someone post like levered investing. Like, oh, I put 20% down and I get 5-to-1 leverage. My return on asset is like 7-8%, right? A cap rate is 7-8%. I'm like, cap rate, I look it up. I'm like, what is a cap rate? Okay. Oh, I have a rental property already, so I knew a little bit, but I went and looked it up and was like, wow, the spread here is insane. I go look in London and I see the spread is insane. You know, back in, I guess 2014, this would be early 2014. And I'm like, the spread's insane. Like if you look at the numbers, if I can get an 8 cap rate on a property and I can borrow at a cost of debt of like at that time, 2.49, the spread is insane, 5-to-1. So I'm like, forget it. Even if I don't make any money on my down payment, the spread of the cheap debt is where the value's at. So then that basically, Patel, got me to a point where I realized real estate is insane. Like the fact that you can go buy $5 million in real estate assets for $1 million down payment, you know, spread across many properties, and then BRRRR that, so, you know, the whole BRRRR method where you refinance the capital back out, put the million up, refinance it back out over a 3 to 5 year period, and have none of your money in it. You now have $5 million in real estate, and you've got your $1 million back. You have 0 of your own money. I was like, that is insane. Like, there's no stock trading formula ever that exists like that, right? So just dirty math. You look at the math, you're like, this is disgustingly so good. I can't say no. And so I was like, you know what? I can work hard. I can do this. I'm working, 8 to 5, whatever. I could grind it till midnight every night renovating properties. I could do it all weekend long. I could pick up another full-time job. I got the hustle in me. It shaved my retirement age down from like 29 down to like 25, 24. So I was like, wow, this changes everything. Real estate could get me there twice as fast. Hell, I could be retired. I could be Canada's youngest retiree at 24. And I was like, that's a mission. I'm 21 right now at the time. 24, I'm like, can I do it in like 3 years? And I'm like, actually, it's very possible. I get like 10 or 12 properties. I end up getting 17 over the next 3 years. And if I save aggressively all of my day job salary, all of my rental income, and all of my wife's basically, and we house hacked, we would get there very fast. I'm like, that's cool. That's powerful. So do I like real estate? No. Property management sucks. Construction sucks. All of it is terrible. Like, the ideal is to be the investor. I eventually want to get to a point where I just invest my capital with a young, hungry guy who wants to do all the work, and I get the nice returns. Like if I get like 20% return for no work, that's way better than 40% return and a lot of work, right? Like if you value your time. So that's something that I'm moving towards. The long answer, I guess, is that is the long answer. That real estate just happens to be the best investment I can find. It does require time. It does require some expertise, but it performs better than any other asset class that exists because of leverage. So levered real estate investing is the attractive piece. Owning real estate in cash isn't attractive. I would just sell a property owned in cash. Cool. Hopefully that answered your question. And let's go on to the next one. Still connected. Cool. So we are connected. When you were younger, we answered that question. I spent many hours ATV, VS, MX. What's the best career for undergrads to get into real estate? That will benefit real estate investing long term. The best career. See, I personally think like the best careers are business, construction, not really engineering, business, construction, accounting, and finance. Accounting specifically is pretty valuable. And then sales. If you're good at sales, you'll crush it in real estate. Like, a person who goes into sales understands it's just valuable. I went into consulting, and like I did specifically business consulting for IT shops. So was that really, but I have an accounting and finance degree. So I guess I leveraged a little bit of everything. In the IT space, my job was to solve problems, right? Like I found complex solutions to solve problems. I guess real estate's the same way. You can apply those systems and solve problems. I created some systems to make things faster and easier. But honestly, like the best thing you can do to go into construction or to go into real estate is sales, construction, or accounting. Probably the best ones to go into, because you need to understand construction to buy buildings effectively. You need to understand accounting to manage properties effectively, and also get the financing piece taken care of. And I think that sales is so important. A good sales guy can negotiate a really great deal on the buy side. They're good at placing tenants, like tenant leasing and placing tenants. That's a sales skill, right? If you're good at selling, you can sell rental units for top dollar, etc. Salespeople are also good at negotiating. They have good people skills. And people skills are actually important to be a good landlord. You have to understand where people come from. You have to understand, you have to empathize with a person and understand where they're coming from to help them solve their problem. Those are all critical skills to being successful, I think, in real estate and in general. So definitely. Skills that you use in many professions are transferable into real estate. Good question. Okay. How often do you pull all or most of the equity out of your homes after a reno? So Harriet Tubman, I would say almost always I will refinance after a renovation. Pretty much always. Yeah, I would say like 98% of the time, because you've just added money into the property. So no matter what, you've put money into it, you're going to get some value out. I don't know if you get all your money back, but you get a portion of it back at least, right? Hopefully you get more than the money you put in, right? So it does come down to, at the end of the day, saying, okay, what is the value of your capital, right? And for most people, the value of their capital is at least 7%, right? Because the S&P 500, you can get 5 to 7% safely. So that's the bottom of the barrel. I hate when people call me. Anyway, sorry about that. So I forget what I was even talking about now. I'm talking about return on investment, whether you refinance your capital out. If you're thinking about refinancing out, you've got to say to yourself, if I have the choice between taking a 7% return or pulling my money back out and then getting a way better return, then you would easily be able to decide, okay, if I pull my money out and borrow it at 3% and then reinvest it into the property, I'm going to get a way better return than if I just leave that money in the property. So we always want to be in a position where we can pull that capital out. If any of the mentees are watching right now, can they call Abe and tell him the owner of the property? I can't even do a phone call right now because I'm on a live stream, but it's unfortunate. Someone's at Canada Post. Jonas, Chong, are you guys on the live stream? Or not? Okay, whatever. I'll call him after. Okay, could you discuss a bit more detailed strategy using an LOC for down payment with a B lender and then refinancing with an A lender? How would you need to wait? What are the added costs there? Okay, so I can walk through that strategy a bit. And Harriet, you said, sorry, not equity source capital. And you mean just pulling your money back out? Yeah, of course, you want to always do that. That's the ideal. If you can get it all out, it depends on how good of a job you did buying and how good of a job you did on the renovation, keeping the costs down to add enough value to get that money out. Could you discuss a bit more about the detailed strategy using the line of credit? So, yeah, I mean, legally you have to have a down payment proof to buy a property, right? So no A lender is going to let you use your line of credit as a source of down payment. But if you bought a property, closed it, there are B lenders who don't care where your down payment comes from, so you can use line of credit and close it. Then after, once you own the property, you could refinance it with an A lender. That'd be no problem. It's a strategy I recommend. I actually prefer that strategy than, honestly, even for myself, if you're in a position where you're the expert, you have the deals and you have the know-how, then the money you can just raise that. Like, instead of having JV partners, it's actually way more profitable. People reach out to me like, Mike, how do I do JVs like you did? It's actually way more profitable to not joint venture. Like, the joint venture person with the money, they offer nothing. They just offer the money. They're useless, really. You can go raise that money. I can connect you with B lenders who will lend to 8% all day long for secured mortgages, 75 to 80% loan to value. it's going to cost you like a higher interest rate, but the higher interest rate is cheaper than paying the partner out their cut, right? So something to think about. People think money's important in the equation of buying property. It's really not. It's like the least important thing. So you could just buy property 100% on credit and then refinance it and pull most of that out and even have like free equity in the property and have no partner on the property, which is kind of ideal. So how does that work? Basically, then yeah, you refinance with the. We could do a whole video just on how that actually works, like that whole process. It's better to do like a private coaching call, to be honest, on that. Like we should just get on the phone for a coaching call for like $100 or $150 and walk through that with a real example. It's just much better to do it that way, detailed. You need auctioneer add-on for Kijiji to scan it and find the deals automatically. Brandon, good idea. The auctioneer add-on in World of Warcraft is fantastic. Who can write a code? That is an actual value add right now. If there's a programmer who's watching this playback or watching this now, who can write a software that can analyze the cost of all the items on Craigslist or Kijiji right now and give you an average price, and you can run that add-on as you're scrolling through Kijiji, you can find opportunities for arbitrage. Like, you know, the average iPhone comes up at $270 and you see one come down at 200, you know, then clearly the $200 deal is a good buy. And if you could scan Kijiji's pages and find those deals and just buy all those items, it's not like eBay where you can just buy it. You have to literally go physically meet the person, but you could imagine it'd be pretty easy to do that. You could hustle a good amount of money. I was doing that for a while. I was buying things and reselling them. Like I was buying iPads from Apple iPads that were like pretty commoditized, pretty easy to buy, and they had similar specs. They're pretty easy to look at, and I would go buy them for like 200 and resell them for like 280. So there you go. So if someone could ever do that, that would be a hugely profitable business. It'd be better on something like eBay. I'm sure someone's already scanning eBay and putting bids in and figuring out the optimal equations for that. But definitely for yeah, that'd be really cool for Kijiji. And you could, the challenge is that you can't just do it with the algorithm. You need a person to go meet that person and negotiate the price even further. So there's a human element and there's a programming element. So you've got a program and compared that with someone who could go and hustle and do that. That'd be a cool program. I'd get behind that. That'd be something that'd be super valuable. I don't know if Kijiji would be on board with giving their data up, but if there's a way to mine that somehow, that'd be kind of cool. Okay. We did that question already. Playing WoW is very cost effective too. It's a cost effective way to have a ton of fun. You have a bunch of friends get together, you do some PvPing, you do some raiding, whatever you want to do. Have a good night of fun with some friends, and it costs you nothing. Cheaper than the bar. It's just great all around. It's a great way to have some fun. It's frugal. If you pick up gaming, you're probably able to live on like $1,000 a month, right? Like it's really cheap if you're a gamer. The expensive thing is going out and doing stuff in the real world, like going to the bar, going to the movies. I'd rather just sit at home, have a movie theater in the background, play a game with some friends, you know, have some light snacks. That's a way better night, and it's frugal, which means you can retire sooner. Game away. You know what's nice? I used to, in the summer, I used to game, and I lived like pretty much on the beach. So I'd run over, go for a swim for an hour, get hot, you know, then cool down in the water, come back up, and we didn't have AC in our house. So I'd game for like an hour, and then I would like, you know, send my guy down a long flight path or something, or get my macros running, and run back and go hang out on the beach. The back and forth is nice. Nothing in absolutes like by itself is any fun, but I think in moderation, it's fantastic. Was researching about stocks, and this title just captured me. Oh my god, awesome, thanks. Playing Escape from Tarkov and owning the trade system there. Buy and resell. Nice, love it. Definitely love live streaming. Okay, so I should live stream. Time freedom, Ruben Revolution says. Yeah, 100%. I think that the key with time, like as you get richer, you get more and more responsibility. Like I have more things to do now than I ever have. Like literally just like the banking and like the basic things I have to do to keep all the, like I have so many balls in the air, so it's just a lot to do. I have a family and all these things going on. So time is very valuable to me today. I would much prefer, for instance, to get my returns halved. Like I'm okay with growing at, say, 12% a year on my portfolio instead of 50% if I don't have to put any time in. So that's why I'm partnering with mentees, giving away a lot of my profit. That's why I'm doing a lot less joint ventures now, because it just doesn't make sense, I think, in the same capacity. Like I'll still do the odd joint venture for a friend, but I'm not actively sourcing capital, right? It feels better for me to be in a position where I'm just working with a few select investors I really like, and I'm not really working with investors I don't want to deal with, right? It just doesn't make sense. And so that's the ideal, right? At the end of the day, that's what you want. The mentees are doing a bang job too. I'm super impressed with how they've been banging out all the work, getting things done. Okay, playing redemption now. I'd watch. Nice. Appreciate that. Okay. This is true. 1% interest. I don't know what that's about. Hey, Mike, your content is really great. Been following you since the last few months. Thanks. Appreciate that. Message retracted. Help with the qualifications, gain MBA, 2 years minimum work experience. So, Mikey, yeah, I mean, if you're looking to get an MBA, don't. If you run the numbers, actually, MBAs, especially like the worst MBA of all is the Harvard MBA. If you get into Harvard for their 2-year MBA, it's probably the worst return on your money ever. I ran the numbers on the opportunity cost of a graduate who got into Harvard. So they're already losing about, on average, about 110,000 going into the program. So they're making 100 grand a year going in. So for 2 years, they lose 200 grand in opportunity costs they could have made while they're working. Plus they have costs of being there, right? The actual cost of the program, which is another 100 grand. So they're like 250 grand into this program upon graduation. 250 grand in a first mortgage lent out, 10% return is 25 grand a year compounded. So by like, when is it happening? It's basically every 7 years that money doubles. So by retirement, the question is, do you want a Harvard MBA or is it better if I gave you $3 million? And I'll tell you what, the break even's like in your 50s. So if you do a Harvard MBA and you plan to retire before 50, don't do a Harvard MBA. MBAs are not actually, the return on investment is very terrible for an MBA. So something to think about. If you're a top performer, probably, if you're doing it for the money, don't do it. If you're doing it for other reasons, like you just want to learn, want to meet some cool people there, I would argue that over 2 years you could network. If you made that your job, you could network with those same people in that same way without going to Harvard while still working full time. So cool. Oh, awesome. Towards the channel and the new phone. Thanks. Appreciate that. It means a lot. It's great connecting with you a little while back as well. Thank you. Appreciate that. It means a lot. We're getting towards the new phone. I'm what, like $340 away now. We should keep someone should keep a tally going until we get to the actual amount, and then when we get to the actual amount, I'll just go out and buy one. A new iPhone for the stream. Okay. Shaman. Yes. Shaman. Wind Fury Shaman. Do it. Actually, what goes good with Shaman is also either a rogue or a warrior. So at some point, maybe we should jump over to your warrior, your rogue. Actually, your rogue would be ideal. How long were your properties vacant before you got tenants? Which properties vacant before you got tenants? So like, it just depends, to be honest. I'm not sure what you're referring to in this situation. So okay, maybe like way back when I was in my early 20s. Some of them, to be honest, like I had one flip when I was like 22 that took me almost a year. Like I would go there every day after work and fix it up. I didn't know how to outsource. Like I did a lot of it myself. That was a mistake. And it said almost a year. I have a buddy who did a 2-year flip, like 2 years working on his property. He's a construction guy. So he's like, oh, I don't want to outsource it. I can just do it myself. I know how to do it. But you have to think, what is the value of your time? What is the opportunity cost of having it vacant, right? And so often if you're really handy, I would say don't do all the work yourself. Learn to outsource so you can keep things moving along quickly, right? Time is money at the same time. So yeah. Okay, skills pay the bills. Love it. Do you recommend or see value in getting a real estate license to become a real estate investor? No, I don't think it makes sense to be a realtor and a real estate investor unless you're doing the kind of volume that I am. Like I'm a real estate agent now and I'm looking at actually opening our own brokerage very soon. So stay tuned. Investors Choice Realty will be specialized. Like a lot of realtors suck at helping people buy and sell investment properties. That's what we'll niche down and focus on. Because most agents don't even understand cap rate. Like 9 out of 10 of them are terrible for analyzing and understanding investment properties. They don't understand construction. They don't understand how to rent out and place tenants. They don't have rental properties themselves. If you don't have rental properties, if your real estate agent doesn't have at least 3 rental properties, fire them. Enough said. Like they shouldn't be helping you buy rental properties because they don't know what they're doing. Anyway, tangent done. Is it worth it? No, the fees are a lot. Like you've got fees to CRE, fees to ORIA, fees to L-Star, your local boards. You have fees to your broker. You're gonna spend like 6, 7, 8, 9 grand a year just keeping your license going, plus all the time invested to get the real estate license. In my opinion, unless you're doing like 4, 5, 6 deals with your license per year, It's not worth it. I just got my license now this year after I'd already done more than 50 deals. So it didn't start making sense until I'd done more than 50 deals for me to get my license. But that said, if you love sales, if you're good at selling, if you want to help other investors buy and sell property, and you're cool making a commission doing that, do that. Like that's what you want to do, get your license. If you're just using it to buy properties for yourself, just find a good realtor and partner with them. It's not worth your time and your money, to be honest. Okay, I found my next programming project. That's awesome. Shaman, yep, 100%. My main is probably gonna be Shaman right now. I had a Rogue, like either Rogue or Shaman main, but yeah. I love gaming during the winter, 100%. Dollars per hour entertainment is cheap with gaming. That is true. It is a great frugal way to ensure you retire early and save a ton of money. I learned snowboarding recently. Can get a cheap gear on Kijiji and they don't really check the tickets. Glen Eden. Nice. That's sick. My new house is right near Bowler Mountain, so we're gonna hook up a little here in London. It's like just a hill basically, but we're gonna hook up. We're gonna be doing some skiing and snowboarding and some tubing and stuff like that. So that'll be fun between gaming. The new house I'm so excited for it, closing next week. If I can find, so condition of my mortgage on the new house is I need someone else to take this house, and I don't want to sell this house, I want to keep it, but I need to move it out of my name to qualify and port the mortgage. So I need someone who can qualify for a mortgage to take the mortgage of this property, like buy this property. I'll put up half a down payment with them, something like that, figure some sort of solution out, and I'll continue to operate it and own it as a rental property, maybe. And yeah, so if you can qualify for a $560,000 house and a big mortgage, hit me up. House tour. I think I did a house tour a while back, actually, on one of the live streams. Oh, go on realtor.ca and type in 67 Acorn Place. You'll find my house. It's on MLS. Thank you for great content, acting as a virtual mentor. Hey, thanks, appreciate that. $13.99, I like that. That's $13.99. Instead of 14, just make it $13.99. That's good. If you're trying to make it look lower, but no, I like the 99. That's good. So we got what now? $24 towards the new phone. We're like, damn, we're almost 10% of the way there in one stream. Look at us go. Look at us go. Okay, we'll go up and keep going with the questions here. What about the CPA? So the CPA designation, so certified professional accountant, I think it is. CA was chartered accountant. CPA, so I don't know. The CA, I was doing the CA path. It merged with the CPA. I think it's certified, or is it chartered maybe? CA is chartered accountant. I don't know what CPA stands for. I think it stands for chartered professional accountant. CPA. Yeah, sounds about right. I think it's what you're referring to. There is another CPA designation that's not accounting, but I don't think you're referring to that one. So is it worth it to become a CPA? It depends. I think if you're grinding, I think yes. I think because you're already working, say at a Big Four or at some sort of accounting shop, you're making a day job income, you had to work somewhere anyway, might as well get the CPA. The CPA does give you some credibility in the real estate field for lending, for borrowing, just working with JV partners and things like that. I do think the CPA is leverageable in real estate, and I think it is a transferable skill. I do regret actually not finishing my CPA. So I got 6 months, I got all the courses done, I got 6 months into my CPA working at KPMG, and I dipped and jumped over to consulting, and it paid better. So I just did it for more money. I was like, oh, I can get more mortgages faster, and the work was easier. Like busy season in accounting sucks. Like, I don't know, it just didn't fit with my goals, and so I made the switch, but it's a regret. Like I could be a CPA right now, and yeah. So I think it's actually a good idea to get your CPA. It'll suit you long term. I figured I had the Ivy degree, so I already have the pedigree. I didn't really need the CPA to give me credibility, but if you didn't have that, I think totally worth it. I think, yeah, it might be certified professional accountant in Canada, I'm not sure. Certified professional accountant, CPA in the US is right. And that's why I think Canada moved from the CA. There was 3 streams. There was like the CA, which is like the highest level of accountant. There was the CMA, and then there was the CGA. And the CGA was like the certified general accountant. They like the college route. They're the shittiest of all the accountants. So there's 3 different designations. Only CAs could do like audit and more higher level work. I was going the CA route. Now it's called CPA. They merged the 3 together. So it's a totally different, I'm not even following. Like it's been so long, right? I've been graduated from Ivy for 5 years now. Like that's how long I've been out of school. I'm like, I'm old now. I'm 26, but I graduated so young that I've been out of the game for so long. I'm a veteran now. I don't even know how things work. Okay. Next question. Where did I lost my spot? There we go. Cool title, Mike. Thanks. Appreciate it. If I could accurately identify good deals, I would, but I have no confidence in my ability to find properties that I could get all my money out after refinance. How do you find good deals? Chuck Norris, I like the name, by the way. World of Warcraft reference there. If you ever play Horde in the Barrens, you'll see all the Chuck Norris jokes in the general chat. So World of Warcraft reference there. Finding good deals is difficult. I think buying something is better than buying nothing. Like even just like any rental property, for instance, in London, Ontario, should generate you, if you're levered, like a 15% return. So that's like the table stakes, which is twice as good as the S&P 500, which means real estate outperforms. Yeah, it's a unique skill set. That's why I justify having joint venture partners. That's why so many people come to me and ask me to partner with them and give me 50% of all the profit in almost all cases. And if you look at the numbers, it just makes sense for them. Like they don't have to do anything and they get, 50% of all the profit, which in most of my deals is like, say, if you're doing a 45% return, they're looking at 25% return on their money, plus appreciation on top of that, plus some forced gains on top of that. So often we're getting over 100% return total. If they're getting 50% return on their money, they're happy. I'm happy getting 50% for putting no capital up, but I put all the deal and I put all of the value add in, right? And so really I'm putting in more value than they are by putting up the capital in essence, right? Because I bring a deal, say $50,000 under market value, they bring a $50,000 down payment. We both brought equal amounts to the deal. And then further from that, if I also add a bunch of value to it, then they get all the upside of all that work that we had to do. And then if I manage it prudently, they get all of the cash flow for no work. It's a great triple trifecta of cash flow. So what do I recommend? Find a good realtor who will help you find deals. It takes time to develop the skill to get good deals. My first few deals were not as good as the deals that I do now, of course, right? Like you have to just start somewhere and build those skills, right? So that's the short answer of it. Okay. Next question. I'm raiding in Classic WoW right now. Love it. Warrior main tank. That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. I love that you have YouTube open while you're raiding. So curious what you're raiding right now. Are you doing like level 60 raiding or going to keep living in the frugal life once your kids hit the teens? So Prince and Pride, it depends. Like frugal is all relative. How do I say this? Like if you make $500,000 a year and you spend $50,000 a year, you save 90% of what you make, you spend 10% of what you're making. That's extremely frugal. But $50,000 a year is a lot of money to spend. Controversially, if you make $50,000 a year and you spend $5,000 a year, that's also frugal. But that's extremely like, you gotta pinch pennies to really make 5,000. You have to house hack even to make 5,000 a year work. I've done it. I've lived on like 5 to 7 grand a year. It's tough. Like you gotta be house hacking, rent hacking to really get you gotta be having roommates, all that kind of stuff to make it work. But it is one of those things where you gotta make trade-offs. I think for me in my teenage years, do I wanna spoil my kids? No. Like, do I wanna live in a mansion and have them feel like they got a silver spoon in their mouth? No. At the same time, do I want my kids to go without? I went without as a kid and it sucked. I wanted to play hockey so bad. I never got to play hockey once, ever. Could never afford the equipment. I have skates. I know how to skate on the pond and the river in our back. Just in the subdivision where I live, I learned how to skate. But I never had lessons. I couldn't afford that. So if my kids want to play hockey, am I going to find a way to make that work? Yeah, I'm gonna do one extra JV part-time to pay for that. So am I okay not being frugal anymore? Yes. And that's because I've gotten to a position where I can be, right? Like I'm in a position in my life where I'm in abundance. I got 6 figures passive income coming in. Like I don't need to be frugal. And I'm sure that when my daughters are both in their teenage years, that's a decade from now. I'm sure in a decade from now, my wealth will be even at an 8 or 10% growth rate from where I am now. I'll be getting damn close to 8 figures net worth, right? So at least probably higher. So at that point, if you have 8-figure net worth, if you have well over 10 million bucks in net worth, invested at 10 or 12%, that's $1 million a year. If I'm making $1 million a year, even if I spend 200 grand a year and like lavish, ball out, luxury fire living, I still wouldn't even be like, I still have an 80% savings rate. So it gets to a point where it's just ridiculous. Like if you're frugal for If you continue to be a good earner, which like I've always just been a good earner, I'm good at business, I'm good at making money. Whatever I get in, I tend to succeed. And that's just because I put my heart and soul into it. I work really, really hard. If you work really hard at something, you succeed. So my belief is that if you work really hard and you're frugal for like a period of at least 10 years, like I did that from 17, I'm gonna be 27 in a couple of days here. So from 17 to 27, I put in a 10-year grind. If you do that, if anyone commits to 10 years of hardcore, like I'm talking 60, 70, 80, 100 hours a week, whatever, like at least 40 or 50 hours a week minimum, hardworking and super frugal, you'll get to a point where it doesn't even matter. You get rich enough, like at my stage in the game, I could really just do one more deal. I want an Audi, let's do a quick deal. I could do a deal next week. Boom, I just made the money for an Audi. Not even a problem, right? Like it gets to a point where I'm making so much that the frugality doesn't matter. And that's not to say that like 2 years ago it didn't matter, because it did matter. And it still matters now to a degree. Like I'm not balling out eating out every night, but if I want to go eat out, I go eat out, right? Like we just went out for pad thai and pho, and it is delicious. And it's still relatively frugal. We didn't go to the most expensive place in town, but at the same time spent, you know, 25 bucks on that meal for my wife and I to eat in that. So it's that's something that I wouldn't have done on the super frugal side, but it's something that, you know, you get to a certain point where it's okay to do that. And I think that it's all relative to your current net worth and your current income. More important is your net worth. Like your spending should be relative to the amount of money that you have in net worth. Net worth equals assets minus liabilities, right? So it's all relative. I think if you're making a lot of money or you have a lot of money, it's okay. Okay. House tour, we did that already. Come on, people. More super chats. $10 right now, and we will get better viewing experience every single week. True that. I will get a new iPhone 8. That is a promise. Someone hold me to that and keep accountable to when we get to the 350 benchmark for the iPhone. 350 to 400 bucks. I think 350 is probably the best deal I'll find on an iPhone 8 that's in good condition with a lot of storage. Is there a way to find a house that's a foreclosure in Ontario? The problem with foreclosures, Jordan, in Ontario is that they sit on the MLS. It's a requirement they sit on the MLS for like 10 to 15 days. They have to have adequate market exposure before they accept an offer, and then every offer has 72 hours on it. So it's almost impossible to get a deal. Like everyone has to get their eyeballs on it before they get an offer, which makes it very difficult to get a good foreclosure deal. What you actually want is before the foreclosure. When they're like a month before the foreclosure's happened, and the seller still has the right to sell it to you, and they're like, the bank, forget this, like screw the bank, I just want to stick it to them. They're going to take my house anyway. They'll sign a contract for as low as they can. They don't care about their own equity at this point, and they just want to screw the bank, I guess. So that's where you can get a really good deal. Once the bank takes over, they have processes, they have realtors they call, adequate market exposure. So you want to actually before it goes into foreclosure. That's the ideal, is when they're being foreclosed on, not after the bank has taken power of sale. You don't want that. Banks are smart. They don't often lose money. Okay, cool title. We did that one already. We did that question. Which is harder, getting a good deal in the stock market or in real estate? It's nearly impossible to get a good deal in the stock market without knowing something with insider information. Real estate, you can trade insider information all day long. It's legal. Like if someone calls me and tells me about a property, I go buy that property. There's nothing wrong. Like real estate is not perfect information. It's imperfect information run by a bunch of dumb real estate agents that are on average high school education. Wall Street is a bunch of really sophisticated, really smart guys who have like MBAs from Harvard, who have statistical computer models that look to make markets very efficient. So the gap between what you know and what the market knows is very small. In real estate, the gap between what you can know and what the market knows is huge. Realtors will put up pictures from 6 years ago. Like no one would put up financial statements from 6 years ago and you buy a company based on 6-year-old financial statements. No. In real estate, that's how it works. Agents are lazy. They put no measurements. They write a crap description. The other day we just bought a property and it was listed as a single family house. I think it was 3 bedroom, 1 bath. We go into it, it's 8 bedrooms, 3 kitchens, and like 3-4 washrooms, a massive house. I'm like, what? Like the agent literally described it as a $100,000 lower asset than it was. That's why real estate's so attractive. And you only would know that by going to see the property. You wouldn't even know it from looking at the listing. Listing had like 3 pictures. It looked like a terrible property, but you get into it and you find something different. There's laws in the stock world, you can't misportray important information. It's against the law. And real estate agents do it all the time. And so it's just a different world. The real estate market is inefficient. And so if you understand construction and look at a lot of properties, you'll find those arbitrage opportunities. And so because of that edge, it makes real estate super attractive. Do you recommend Brantford as a learning experience for first birth? The cheapest houses there, 270K. I don't know, a cheap area, maybe Welland near my house to practice. I mean, Brantford's more expensive than, London or something. But, I mean, if you're living there already, go for it. It doesn't hurt to buy property. And I like to buy property where I live locally, or I want to partner with someone who's an expert in that market. So, yeah, go for it. Better get into something. If you had 80K right now and were pursuing FI, what would you do with it? How would you go about it? Myself personally, I'd probably go buy some properties. I'd lever that money up. So that 80 grand would buy me $500,000 in real estate, right? If I assume you have a job, you will lever that up, get a mortgage, and buy a property. Because now you're getting the returns on $500,000 in real estate portfolio, right? Instead of just the returns on $80,000 invested. But another route is to just lend it out. If you lend it out, you put it in your tax-free savings account, lend it out at a 12% return secured against real estate as a secured mortgage. You can lend through your TFSA as a mortgage through companies like Olympia Trust. Guys like me take the money, we put it on the property. You can get great returns tax-free. So that's another option. I like real estate. The other option is just buy some, ETFs, exchange traded funds, let it grow, keep saving. So you're on a different server than me, but doing molten core, looks like. Cool, right on. We're on a Stalag, that's the server we're on for WoW Classic. Me and the mentees and some buddies. Do you have any recommendations for rental properties that positive cash flow near Milton? I'm sure they exist. I know people in downtown core Toronto that are getting cash flow. So I know it exists if they know what you're looking for. So talk to an expert in the area, they'll be able to tell you. Probably it needs more bedrooms or more multifamily. If you're looking just at single family houses, probably not gonna find the cash flow in Milton. But if you're looking at like duplex, triplexes with lots of bedrooms in each unit, very possible you could have cash flow. What is the process of joint venturing with me? The process is you reach out to me. Ideally, you're an accredited investor with more than $1 million net worth and good income, and you reach out to me on Instagram and or by email to rosehartproperties@gmail.com or on Instagram at Mike Rosehart, and we start chatting and we see if we're a good fit. Just because you have money doesn't mean you're a good fit. There has to be like a level of I want the investors to be passive. I want them to be easy to work with. So that's one of the most important things. Any good tips on how to wholesale a good deal for the first time? Hit me up if you have a good deal. I'm happy to look at it. Talk to wholesalers in your market. Likely they have good infrastructure. You could partner with a wholesaler. I know for instance in like Ottawa, there are guys like Luke, for instance, is fantastic. He does a great job in that area, right? And he's someone who's, you could go to him and say, hey, I got this thing under contract. It's a great deal. Instead of making 10K wholesale fee, can we do 5.5? Like you help me with your marketing, you just blast this out for me. I already got it under contract. Boom, now you got a wholesale deal. So reach out to the network. Don't be afraid to share in the profit. Then once you get one under your belt, you build your marketing list, right? You need a good buyer's list to be able to wholesale. So wholesaling is assigning contracts for profit as a private individual. And if you do that, you need to make sure that you have a good list of investors who want to work with you. And so you need a few hundred investors on your list that would want to jump at a deal. What interest rate do you find acceptable for property financing? It depends. Like Joe, I think if the deal's really, really strong and I'm just going to hold it for like 6 months and flip it, 12% is fine. Like the cost of financing over a 6-month period at 12%, the whole thing, is not that expensive. But if I'm holding it long term, buy and hold cash flow, I want to buy it at a high rate and refinance ASAP or get into a low cost of debt product, something like 2 or 3%. You go ratespy.com, you can see what the current rates are here in Canada. All the brokers are advertising on there. Rate Hub sucks. They get paid to advertise. Rate Spy is fantastic. They're actually accurate and their rates are way lower. You can see what the banks are offering, what all the big brokers are actually offering on there. Okay. This YouTuber, Forma Fist, makes it look so scary. Apparently the same thing happening as in 1999 before the crash, but good positive cash flow should be safe, no? Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if you have strong cash flow, you can just hold and wait for the recession to recover. Real estate may do this, like I'm looking at the trend line and it's moving, but it's moving in one direction, that's up. Over the last forever, from the 80s, whenever we had the last crash, within a 7-year window, everything is recovered and then some. So what I see is dollar cost average. Buy all the time. Like in a recession, I'm gonna keep buying. If prices get low, I'm gonna keep buying the whole time. Things come back. You only lose when you sell, so don't sell, buy for cash flow. Do I think rent prices are going to fall? Probably not. Vacancy rate's going to rise, maybe a little bit. But I think if we work hard on rental properties, we'll keep them rented. And if we have good enough margins on cash flow, I'm talking like $500 a door, positive cash flow, then it's okay. We're in a position where we can weather a bit of a recession, so to speak, in real estate. And so I buy all my properties to be recession proof first. I'm not a speculative investor. I'm not looking to maximize appreciation. I'm looking for cash flow first, and those other things as a secondary. The current plateau, I feel like everything is going to collapse soon, the economy and the real estate market. No. I don't know. I can't plan to speculate on that. You know, my thoughts on the market in general is that we're due for a crash. Business cycles are such that we haven't had a good recession in a while. So it's likely that we will have a recession. I don't know which sectors it will affect. I can speculate, but I don't want to do it on the air. I could talk about some things that I think might happen, but I'll say it this way. With all the information that I have and all the people that I talk to and being a finance grad myself, I am still buying cash flowing real estate. I am not flipping real estate. If you are looking to flip real estate, now would be a good time to get out. If you have properties that don't cash flow that well at current market values, now might be, they have bad cap rates currently, now might be a good time to sell. If you have properties with equity in them, now is a good time to refinance that equity out and lock in those gains. You don't have to sell the property, but refinance that equity out at high valuations. Then you can weather the storm and hold through any recession. But am I still bullish on holding cash flowing real estate? Yes. Okay, I just read today Derek Foster was a self-proclaimed Canada's earliest retiree before you at age 34 in 2004. There you go. So I took the title from him, I guess, being 10 years younger than him. So I'm the youngest that I know of that's done it self-made at age 24. If I'm not, cool. Like I can remove that title, it doesn't even matter. I did it through frugality, right? A lot of people do it through entrepreneurship and things like that. I didn't even start my business until after I retired. I retired over 2 years ago when I was 24. I'm 3 years. This February, I'm 3 years since having retired, right? So it's pretty crazy. 3 years now. And my net worth has, way more than doubled. Like I've made so much money in retirement, it's not even funny. Because not being chained to a desk actually, like I was providing way more value than the company was paying me in salary. And so as soon as I stopped working, I just started making more money, like hand over fist. Because like if you put value to the world, you get a ton back. That's just how it works. If you're not valuable at all, I guess, then you wouldn't make any money in retirement, which is fine because you're planning to live on your retirement portfolio anyway. So yeah, I don't claim that I was FIRE. So I reached FIRE. Like actual definition of FIRE is 4% safe withdrawal rate. So I claimed that I was actually retired properly. It was December 2016. Before I quit, I was FIRE. At that point, I had enough in net worth that if I sold everything and put in dividend stocks and withdrew 3.5% from that portfolio, I would never deplete the principal ever. So my living costs were completely covered. I was actually at 2.5%. I was completely covered as a layer of resiliency. So I was like 4% safe withdrawal rate in 2016. So I was at a point where, and I sold 11 properties off and was going to just put you guys know, in early 2017, I sold 11 properties off. I started on that journey to sell a bunch of properties off. And the plan was just to have dividend portfolio back in 2017 to live on the dividends. But I couldn't resist. I had some fun. I had a business partner convinced me to start right way management and all the stuff like that and get involved with it. It took me out of retirement. So I've committed out of retirement. I'm not actively retired right now. I'm going back into a retired stage very soon. I'm scaling way down and it's fantastic. I've got systems in place. I've got third-party management. I'm not involved in anything anymore. It's fantastic. Best thing I ever did. And I think that for me, dividend portfolio is not the only solution. A piece of my passive income will come from dividends always. A piece will come from probably private lending. And I think a piece will come from ownership in different businesses. I will make it passive. I will have active partners on those businesses and those properties that I own. I won't be the active, but I'll have multiple streams of income. And for me, that's the perfect. I like to have a little bit to do each day. I don't like to have like 8 or 10 hours of work to do. I'm cool with like a few hours of work to do each day, but I need something to challenge myself. And so that's the ideal retirement for me. And it's probably the mentorship program that I run, to be honest, that keeps me most engaged. Give an example of the best way to cash flow in the current price in London. So Paul, it depends. Like I'm buying houses for 170K that cash flow really, really well because I bought them for so cheap. Even single family houses renting for $1,650 a month plus utilities, they cash flow. single family. I got duplexes that are 1% rule, that are cash flowing. If your rents are equal to 1% of the purchase price each month, you're good. $300,000 property, $3,000 a month in rent. Student rentals do that too. It's another great option. Multifamily properties like triplex and fourplex also can be great. You gotta know where to buy, you gotta know how to buy. A lot of the MLS stuff is garbage. So you have to go through dozens and dozens of properties to find the right one. Probably it needs a little bit of work. You probably don't see the value add right away. That's where, like, you might come in and see a 3-bedroom. I come in and see a 6-bedroom, right? You may see a closet. I see a bathroom. I know that bathroom adds another $100 a month in rent. I'm just seeing different layouts when I walk into properties. That's why people pay me the big bucks, because my expertise is that, right? So you can find cash flow in lots of ways. Thanks for the great info. Thanks, Hugo. Appreciate it. Okay, answer that question. Yeah, I mean, talked about like speculating the market a little bit. I'm not in a position where I feel very dangerous. You have to send me some links. I'll have to check him out on Instagram. Shoot me some links. Is it possible to re-register any house and have a lawyer write up that you bought it for $1 so appraisers can't just look at the sale price? So Chuck Norris, yes, there's actually a way when you buy a property to register it in such a way where it is shown at that price and they can't tell. Even if they can tell, you can just say to the appraiser, hey, I bought this property. There was a private deal on the side. I also paid them some cash or whatever. Like, so the sale price that you're seeing, you can't rely on. And I always say that to all my appraisers. I'm like, hey, there was probably something going on in this deal where the sale price cannot be actually relied upon. There's probably a side agreement, something is happening. And so my appraisers typically don't, like most of them know me in town, don't use the purchase price because I'm so creative with how I set up my deals, right? So your wife would be cool with you staying at home watching Netflix and eating all day. Just curious. So my wife would prefer that I didn't work. I like to work because I like to get out of the house. If anyone knows being around 2 kids all day, I love my daughters. I love my family time, a few hours a night. After this, I'm gonna go spend some really great family time for the next 2-3 hours. I do it every night, but everyone knows my bath time, bedtime routine with my daughter. We read books and we do all this kind of stuff. We have a lot of fun. I enjoy that. And I think I would hate myself being at home on Netflix all day. There are days where I like to do that, don't get me wrong, like where I just spend the whole day vegging out playing World of Warcraft. But there are other days where I like to get out of the house and experience things and do stuff. And my wife, I think, is happier that I'm not like cooped up at home, but she doesn't really care. Like, she's actually I have a super supportive wife. Like, we've been together since, hell, I was 16. Since I turned, like, on my birthday when I was 16. So we've been together for 11-year anniversaries in a few days. 11 years together. And she's completely supportive. Like, I would work insane hours. When my first daughter was born in 2016, and I ramped up my real estate portfolio because I wanted to retire ASAP, and I wanted her to be able to quit her job. I wanted her, she was on mat leave, and I didn't want her to have to go back to work. And I accomplished that goal. She didn't have to. We unlocked financial independence. I kicked it into high gear. She stayed home with the kid, with our daughter, and I worked like literally 19 hours a day. I slept 5 hours, and I did it every single day, day after day after day, for weeks and weeks and weeks. Like, exhaustion was beyond the point. Most women would be like, oh, come home. Oh, do this. Oh, help with this. Oh, you're working too much. She was very supportive. Like, none of that. She is fully supportive of me, and so that's been very helpful since the get-go, is that we're very supportive of each other in that sense. Very blessed. Hashtag blessed. You need a partner who's on board with what you're doing to be able to do this. And like, I'm not saying it was easy. I had a shit time grinding to fire and becoming like the earliest retiree. I probably should have taken my time and done it slower, but yeah, she's been very supportive. Even to this day, like, she's watching her kids right now and keeping them out of the office. That's support, right? You need that. You need your partner on board. And I've done videos on how to get your partner on board with that. And I'm not saying it just comes easily. No partner's going to be agreeing right away. You got to work on it. Okay, I think I got all the questions answered. Sweet. I think we're done with the questions pretty much. Thoughts on naked call options? I'm not a big options trader at all. Like, at all. I just think that with options, you're gambling, it feels like to me. Like, when I buy, my fundamental, I believe that if you're buying a stock, you should buy it to hold it. Always be prepared to buy and hold. Just like when I buy a property, I'm always prepared to buy and hold. Now, I might buy a property and have intentions to flip it, or I think there's going to be a good, catalyst that'll cause the stock or the property to increase in value substantially. That's gambling, though. Educated gambling, but gambling and speculating. I'm not a speculator. I'm an investor. So I buy a cash flow playing stock or property, and then if there is an exit down the road, I'm good. With options, the problem with options trading is that, like, an option contract expires at some point, right? So there is no long-term buy and hold. You're literally gambling. And so I guess the only time it makes sense to have options, like, I guess like you can set up like futures contracts if you're like trading currencies or something to protect yourself as a hedge. That's the only time it would make sense to me, in my opinion. Otherwise, it's too risky. And it's complicated. Like most people, most people don't go to that level of complexity. I think keep it simple. Most of the wealthy people have kept it simple. So keep your investing strategy simple. Hello. When you were at Ivy, did you decide on Infotech over other consulting gigs? Would you have done something else outside London ever? Yeah, like, so for me, it was just an opportunity that was posted. I needed something to jump to that was in London. I would never have worked for them in Toronto. Like, honestly, they're an okay London company. I just, like for 55, 60 grand a year, it was good, 9 to 5 job, nice and easy. There wasn't much in London at the time when I was applying. That was a cushy job that paid decent. So London's a very difficult market, I would say. Do I think there are better companies? Hell yeah. Are there better companies in London that are hiring? Maybe. At the time, there wasn't. And so you take what's in your market. London, for me, allowed me to make millions of dollars in real estate. And so I have no regrets at all. I had job offers in Toronto that paid 30 to 40% more. And I turned them down. Because living in Toronto is shit, for one. There is no salary that could get me to Toronto. I actually have an opportunity right now where I could make $600,000 a year in Toronto if I move there full time. I was offered an opportunity in Toronto, 600 grand a year, and I turned it down. I don't want to be in Toronto. I don't want to be in New York. I don't want to be in LA. They're terrible places to live. The cost of living's high. The people are grumpy. Everyone's working all the time. I like London. I like that it's slow paced. I like there's a lot of forest and trees, and I like that. And the cost of living's lower too, right? So, yeah, I didn't choose Toronto, and I'm glad I didn't choose Toronto. No regrets. So how did I decide? There wasn't hardly any other good options. That's the truth. Geez, how'd you meet her? Does she have the goals and interests that align to yours? Yes, she's different than I am. Like we have different goals, but I think our things go together well. Like we have good synergy together in that sense. We've had to grow together over the last 11 years. She's changed a ton. I've changed a lot too. So that's a part of it. Thanks for all the info. No problem. Happy to help. I think I got all these questions figured out. Yep. Okay, cool. If I missed your question in any way, please just jump in the comments after this video and let me know, and I'll try to answer the question. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you on the next Mike Rosehart show, I guess, which will be next Wednesday. And maybe I'll see you this Saturday for an upload. I don't know. I have talked about going on a little bit of a break from the Saturday uploads, but I might just drop them this Saturday for fun. So yes, I'm coming. My daughter's wants me to come right now. So I gotta go. Bye everyone. And if you like gaming, you do you. Bye everyone. Spend less, earn more, and maximize return. Oh, a super chat right at the end. Yay, $10 super chat. Thanks, appreciate it. So we're now at $35. We're 10% of the way towards the new iPhone 8 for the live streams. And I guess next Wednesday I'll be a couple days from closing my next house. So stay tuned for that. Spend less, earn more, and maximize your returns. Bye-bye.